Hello, marketer. It's Ty here, bringing you another episode of Lean Mean Marketing Teams. I'm delighted to introduce our guest today, Kelley Johnson, lead student experience platform Salesforce at the University of Technology, Sydney, or UTS. Kelley has a solid track record of successfully implementing technology into complex environments like higher education. Prior to a successful career with UTS, Kelley has held senior digital leadership roles at UNSW Business School, which is actually where we first met. I had the pleasure of working with Kelley for a couple of years when I headed up the UNSW Business School marketing function. As you'll hear today, Kelley was a great leader, collaborator, and passionate about using technology to solve business problems and improve the CX. Prior to education, Kelley has worked at Reckon, an ASX-listed accounting software company. And today's podcast is really about implementing Salesforce to improve the customer experience. We cover why UTS chose to implement Salesforce and how it aligned with the university's strategy to improve the student and digital experience, the procurement process to purchase Salesforce and why they chose this over other tools, and some big tips on what to do and look out for during the procurement process, which Salesforce modules they purchased and their use case, what audiences are using Salesforce within UTS, the roles you need on the team once you've bought Salesforce to get the most from it, the importance of strong relationships between IT and marketing, cruciality of implementation partners and strong governance to manage the system, implement the system, and manage all your precious data once it is purchased, and what Kelley now knows that she wished she knew earlier. Salesforce is the Magic Quadrant leader for Salesforce automation, according to Gartner, above Microsoft, Oracle, and SAP. But choosing a system like this is no walk in the park. It's a big decision that requires considerable investment in the software, implementation partners, staffing, training, and ongoing management. So my hope from this episode is that if you're considering making an investment like this into a CRM or a marketing cloud, sales cloud, or service cloud, they gain some valuable tips and pitfalls to avoid. Even if it's not specifically Salesforce that you're looking at adopting, I hope you'll still learn some best practices on procurement and implementation. And I will say up front, I am no affiliate for Salesforce. I have no relationship with them. I just thought it'd be interesting to choose a tech stack within a sector and get the nuts and bolts on how it's implemented. As it's a slightly different topic, I'd love to know what you think. Do you want more content like this, exploring other tech stack implementations? Do you want a panel of vendors to go at it and explain why their tool is the best? Let me know. Please take a moment to firstly rate and review us on your favorite platform. Then reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. You can find me, Ty Hayes, on LinkedIn, at Tyrone Hayes on Twitter. And let me know your feedback. I love hearing from our listeners from around the world. It encourages me to keep going to develop this content to help you develop a high-performance marketing team and become a better leader. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit follow to get each new episode as it drops. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Lean Mean Marketing Teams with Ty Hayes, where you'll hear from leading CMOs and thought leaders about what it takes to create a high-performance marketing team. This podcast is brought to you by Growth Generators, a consulting firm that helps CMOs design and build modern marketing teams that drive growth. If you need help optimizing your marketing team, head to growthgenerators.io. Now, let's get on to the show.
Welcome, Kelley, to the Lean Mean Marketing Teams podcast.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here virtually.
Yes, and so nice to catch up again since our time working together back at UNSW. I was looking back and it was quite some time ago now. It's 2011. Yeah, so you've been busy since then with your time at UTS. So maybe before we get into today's episode, which is all about Salesforce implementation, can you share with us maybe one or two pivotal moments in your career?
Sure. So when I contemplated this question, I was actually thinking about that and what was pivotal to me. And I think it's the people that I have met along the way that actually were pivotal. And I'm actually going to be very cheeky and I'm going to say there are three pivotal people in my career. First, two that were at the start of my career and then one more recently. So my very first pivotal moment in my career was actually being taught how to be professional. And I think that's really important because I left high school, not going to date myself, I left high school, went straight into a corporate sort of world, not knowing anything. And I had a manager at the time who really took me under her wing and shaped me into the professional I am today, and didn't criticize me, actually worked with me. So that was, I look back on that time, and without her in that role and being who she was, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So that was my first one. And my second one, and her name was Jane Lovett Cameron, by the way.
Yeah, good. Shout outs. Yep.
Yep. My second pivotal person, I don't probably say that correctly, was a man by the name of DK, and he was the truly first digital visionary. He took me under his wing, and it was an absolute mind-blowing experience. I was thrown into the international market, building out trading stock pads back in the day before ComSec was around, for a software house. Again, having that trust to lead and to work, and the commitment behind the scenes that I was doing the right thing was just amazing, and built for the first time, built my confidence and my understanding of digital. And that was, my friends, back before the .com crash happened. So that's where that started.
Yeah.
And then more recently, I'm going to be cheeky, I think in this context, the DVC and Dwyer that has retired in the last couple of years, coming into UTS and being able to transform their digital experience under the guise and ownership of Anne Dwyer was just amazing for me. She was an amazing woman leader. She was an amazing DVC. So I learned quite a bit on my time. And again, this is all confidence building, being allowed to express yourself and really being trusted to use your experience to build something that's great. So they're my pivotal things.
Yeah, love that. I haven't had someone frame it in that way and talk about the people, but yeah, so important, especially early in your career, to get the right leaders that give you that confidence and self-belief, because that early career really is the foundation often for future. Like I know people that have had bad managers that get their confidence crushed, or they don't know what a good leader is, and that kind of taints their view of leadership or management, or it might stymie their career. But to get that early on and go, you've got this, I've got your back, you can do it.
And look, it shaped the leader that I am, and that I am very mindful. And I'm human, everyone makes errors, but I am mindful of especially the new people coming into their first jobs, and how do I speak to them? How do I guide them and instruct them?
Yeah.
While retaining their confidence and building their confidence. Sometimes it's a really hard mix because you're busy in your own day.
That's right.
So it's definitely something that I take very seriously.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, then we might, for today, I thought, checking out your LinkedIn, I know we've been in touch a little bit and saw this role around Salesforce implementation. And I think we haven't gone deep into tech adoption and implementation on the show yet, but I think we will. And I'd love to cover off all the big kind of tech stack and how people have gone about it, because I think it's one thing to decide on a tool and another thing to implement it, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So I think it'd be useful to share with our audience kind of today, maybe why UTS chose Salesforce and the insights into that decision process, and maybe how it mapped back to strategy, what modules you chose to purchase and implement, and lastly, how you went about it, the wins so far and the learning along the way. So as always, a jam-packed episode, but does that sound okay with you?
That sounds wonderful. I'll share whatever knowledge I have on the subject.
Brilliant. All right. So to start with why, can you rewind and tell us why UTS chose to purchase Salesforce?
Yeah, that's actually a really complex question. So at a very high level, the university had a journey around building their campus. So prior to, I think it was 2018, we were still on the trajectory of, or 2016, somewhere around there, we were on the trajectory of the master campus plan, where there was a 10-year building strategy to build the campus to what you see today. And it's a state-of-the-art campus, and it rivals any campus, I think, throughout the world. And in terms of its location as well, I think it's a great physical experience.
Some iconic buildings designed by world-leading architects.
Very iconic building. And so then that plan was being delivered and was towards the end of it. So it spent its 10 years. And then the university, I say we generally as the university, started looking at the next part of our university's journey. And then that's where the emergence of the 2027 strategy came into play and was deployed. So we are 3 years into that strategy now, and that really focused on our students and our academics and bringing the digital campus or the digital experience to life and using digital more. So it was less about our physical building, but that is still extremely important because we believe that it is a blended experience, that you do want to have the on-campus experience with the digital, but really a focus around our people and our process and to our technology.
Yep. And timed well that the physical campus was kind of done pre-COVID. So I think a lot of universities have got those plans, and then COVID hit and they probably had to either rethink that or look at their funding models. So it's a bit fortuitous that had been done, but obviously with COVID, the digital experience is ever present and so important now.
Yeah, look, I'll probably jump ahead a bit of myself in this, because COVID just impacted everything and everyone in different ways. And definitely, if you talk about COVID and our choice of Salesforce as a digital technology to address some of the new things that were emerging, that we had to meet the needs of the students that we hadn't really had to do before. Salesforce really was a great choice in our product because we could pivot. We could constantly pivot and address the situation. We started the Salesforce relationship actually prior to the 2027 strategy. We built a very small CRM for our corporate partners, so our industry partners and things like that. So that's where our journey of our sales and service CRM started. And then we'd also had the Marketing Cloud module on board for quite some time. So we actually started with Marketing Cloud and our marketing automation technology and our email sort of studio technology. So that was where we were sort of started. And then we had plans to build out and retire as probably many universities out there and many marketing organizations. You probably have 20,000 different CRMs, but we certainly we certainly did. And it's not about decommissioning CRMs and building them big mammoth mega CRM. Like it wasn't really around that. But one of the things that we did have is we actually had a CRM for our prospective students. I think this is where it's interesting because the marketing and IT relationship is pivotal. And I think this is one thing, this is the message. Marketing and IT do need to work together. You cannot work in isolation, will be my main message all the way through this. But yeah, we wanted to, we had an existing postgraduate prospective CRM that we wanted to retire out. And then that's where sort of we started to ramp the conversation around the Salesforce and the need for a CRM that could build and that could move and change with us. So that sort of started the journey of the CRM, and then that was attached, of course, to the 2027, where we wanted to be able to better service our customers and our students and our people. So that was sort of the sort of start of the CRM journey.
Yeah.
And then we head into procurement.
Yeah. And I noticed your previous role was Group Manager Platforms and Strategy before you came this Salesforce lead. Had you kind of identified the need for this tech in that position? And then what role did you play in the procurement as that moved forward?
Yeah, so my role, the key relationship with my role in that time was with marketing. So that was my key relationship. And it was one that when I came into UTS, I actually strategically built. So it was an important and integral relationship. And I should actually preface this with, I actually come in from an IT. So I actually don't report into the marketing arm of our organisation. I report into the IT arm of our organisation, just for some context.
Good for context,
Yeah, so it was always, I suppose there was no one moment where we started talking about it, and we were always talking about changing technology, using technology, and needing the data behind the technology, which is the key, right? At the end of the day, it's the data that you want to make the decisions around the product. So it was always there, Ty. Like we were always talking about CRM and digital marketing and the website and variants in the journey. So yeah, it was never one moment in time where we sort of sat and said, okay, this is the idea. We were sort of always talking about it. And marketing was an absolute driver at that time to progress from a business point of view, to progress that conversation around the need for a proper CRM that could deal with recruitment and students.
Yeah. So they helped, I guess, work with you and IT on the business case, work out the requirements you needed, and then budgeting. It mapped back to strategy, which is always a great thing. Without that, it's very difficult to get new funding if required and get anything over the line. Yeah. But then talk to us about the procurement process itself. Which departments were involved? Where was it central funding? Was it shared funding? Was it strategic project funding?
Yeah, so all at UTS, all IT projects are led by IT capital funding. So we have a number of processes in place where we put initiatives up for prioritization, and there's committees in government and sponsors and things like that say, I want this, I want that. So we have those internal processes first. The project itself then got up through that. So the project that formed was to replace the then aging postgraduate prospective CRM. So that was the initial sort of project that we were going to sort of bite off, the first of the central CRMs coming. So once the project had been initiated and approved, we formed a project team. And again, it was very much led between marketing and IT. IT lead the projects in terms of the project governing. It's an IT project, but really our intent is always to be business led. So we want to be, at the end of the day, the products that we build are for the business. So we're very business focused, and we have business stakeholders and we have business sponsors attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
who was the sponsor in this? Was it the CMO?
CMO, yeah. So the CMO. The one good thing is that at that point in time, we've gone through a little bit of a restructure now. Yeah. But at that point in time, both the marketing function and the IT function actually reported under the one DVC, which is corporate services, and Wire actually reported under Wire. So it was a joint effort. So the CMO was the sponsor, and the CIO was also a part of that as well, because it was actually seen as a pivotal technology that we were putting in place that had a lot more investment to be made down the track, which is where we are today. So pretty much we started, and then the procurement process itself was a sort of a standard university procurement process where we had to go to market, we had to go to a tender process because of the value of work. We went through that. We actually split it, I should say, into two as well. So we also, at the same time, which is absolutely crucial, at the same time we were choosing our technology, we were choosing our implementation partner. We cannot do one without the other. So we were choosing implementation partner and the technology. Mm-hmm. And that's where we came out with Salesforce. And the usual suspects were there on the agenda, without naming names.
Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, all the others in the Magic Quadrant. Yeah.
So they were all definitely part of that process that and then we chose Salesforce. Yeah. One of the key standouts for us in Salesforce, by the way, I'm not getting a commission from Salesforce.
No, neither am I should say.
I know, we should. I'll be talking to them about it. One of the standout things with Salesforce for us as a university was it actually has data schema already set up for education. So it's called HEDA. Mm-hmm. And that really makes building the CRM out a lot easier, because a lot of that thinking and data scheme is already there.
Yeah.
So
around the kind of audiences that you might need and the kind of interactions they might have.
Correct. Yeah. So what they do is that they actually pull together their products, and they call it Education Cloud. So, and that's tied together with the data schema that really focuses on three parts of the journey. So the recruitment phase of the journey, the student experience phase of the journey, and then the alumni phase of the journey. So that's what they'll sell you. If you go in Salesforce, they'll get out those. But interestingly enough, like they've done a lot of work in that data schema layer for the types of data that you as a university will require. So that was a real key thing for us, because it made us it made us be able to work faster and get stuff on board faster.
Less ramp time.
That's
was
right.
that was probably one of the critical things which got them over the line. Was there anything else as you were comparing that helped Salesforce get over the line?
Yeah, look, one of the other things that is really important when you're choosing technology is the support and the partnerships around it. So you want to be, and this is what we did. So you want to have a very strong implementation partner, but you don't want to have just one in terms of it. You may want to partner with one, that's fine, but you want to have choice in the market. And Salesforce has a very strong footprint in Australia in terms of implementation partners and partners, and that they range from your Deloittes and your big enterprise agencies right down to the boutique agencies that would just focus on one particular component, and they do it really well. So that's number one. You have really good partnerships, and also globally, you have really good agencies globally, and also Salesforce themselves.
Yeah, seem to have a lot of resources, events.
Exactly. You do get a lot of support when you sign up to whatever contract you sign up to. You can get a lot of support and a lot of knowledge and know-how is thrown in. I think one of the things that Salesforce do really well is they really do want to make the experience of the product and the engagement a success, right? So I think that's sort of core to their marketing model. If it's a great engagement, you're going to keep it. You can move through. And I've worked on plenty of big enterprise systems where that's not so much the case. So they really stand out.
Interesting. Our last episode was Peter Claudius, and he's from a company called Unlocking Growth, and the episode was all about product-led growth. And from what I've seen of Salesforce, they are purely product-led. All their resources up front, and then when you're in there, the community, the events, like they surface the value of the product throughout that user journey and through all of the resources and things that they offer.
And I find that they all do sing from the same song sheet. They have this ethos around the product that they're delivering that is it makes you want to be a part of it. It's all about drinking the Salesforce. At the moment, people, I'm drinking the Salesforce.
Still drinking it. Good to know. That point around implementation partners, I don't want to leave that without drilling into that just for a moment. Why is that so critical to have that at the same time? It may be obvious to some, but for others that haven't done this implementation, they may go, oh, I didn't realize I needed that. I thought Salesforce would do it.
Yeah. And that is the very point, is that you absolutely, I think with technology, you need to have the right people at the start. You need to have the right people sitting at the table at the start. And they're not always the people that you suspect. So in terms of implementation, this is a very expensive investment. So don't kid yourselves. This is not Mickey Mouse money. This is a major investment. You're also dealing with the absolute essence of your organization, which is your data. So do you want to allow your data to be handled by anyone? So your implementation partner will guide you through all the thinking components of building what is a CRM. You don't just unlock it, buy off the shelf, and you unlock it and off you go. These things require build. They require solutioning. They require thinking around the governance and around how are you going to maintain this system once it's done. So if you choose your implementation partner correctly, they will guide you through that. If you don't have a strong IT department, or you don't have a strong technical marketing department, you need those people to guide you through. Salesforce can do it as well, but they themselves will tell you they are very expensive. So that's pretty much, they do have a service, but you really are paying top dollar. But you get top people, obviously, the people that you're getting, and I can go into that a little bit, because sometimes you want those people who absolutely have the absolute knowledge and understanding and internal understanding of things versus the partners.
Yeah.
But you will pay for that one.
Yeah. And again, without giving away too much, but just for our listeners, like are we talking 7-figure ballparks here or high 6 figures?
Wow, there's been a lot covered in this interview so far. As a marketing leader, we know you like to spend more time taking action and less time taking notes. So we've got you covered. We packaged up all the tips, strategies, and resources from each episode into some beautifully crafted notes just for you. Not ugly AI-generated transcripts, but real notes taken by a real person on our team. To grab the notes, head on over to growthgenerators.io, look out for this podcast episode and download the notes. But be quick, they're only live for a few weeks after the episode airs. Now, back to the show.
It would depending on the size of your implementation and what you're trying to achieve, you are definitely talking six figures without leaving an eye.
Yeah. And what do you wish you knew now that, having gone through the procurement process, you might have done slightly differently?
That's a really good thing. Look, I think the procurement process for IT professionals, you sort of know what you're getting yourselves in for, but for business parts of the organization, so marketing, your marketing professionals, I think that understanding the procurement process and understanding the time that it takes to go through it and allowing for that time to go through it and make good sound judgments, and having the people that are going to be a part of that, giving them time to participate in that procurement process, I think is a huge lesson learned. A lot of the time you front up to a meeting thinking you're just going to listen to a bunch of things happen, and then you're going away and then nothing happens. Well, in procurement land, especially, I mean, I can only talk for UTS. I can talk a little bit for UNSW back in the day, but UTS is the primary example, is that when you make choices as part of a tender process, you actually have to spend hours and hours and hours reading through proposals and then ranking them and then proving that you've got to have these proof points. And one of the things that we tend to do is not spend time doing that, and then all of a sudden it's this great
thing.
Oh my God, I don't have time to do this. And at the end of the day, procurement's in place, and it is binding. So
and it's there for a reason, isn't it? And that upfront investment's so crucial when you're talking multi-year contracts at big dollars. Yes, it's a big time investment, but I remember when we were just implementing Marketo, we worked with procurement and IT, and receiving all these different proposals, and it was hours and hours and hours reviewing that documentation, ranking things, and having the debate and the discussion with the right people in the room.
That's right.
In parallel, choosing your implementation partner and having the similar conversations, but absolutely time well spent and needed to make the right choice. And I think it's the implementation partners and the vendors themselves, that's where their involvement and how they prepare their information, how they answer the brief is so important, because some were so arrogant they just wouldn't respond to the brief and they'd send you a pack they send everyone. It was, well, sorry, you might be great, but you're out. If you don't have time to respond to this and see how this is relevant for us, then you're not going to get considered. So
that's a really important point, because a lot of these vendors that you're going to deal with do come with a sense of arrogance, and especially in the Australian market, and you're going for international products, we are a drop in the ocean in terms of their spending, right? So they can come across of, you're just going to do what we're going to say, and that's it. And is that the relationship you want to be your business when you're trying to drive your business? Who knows your business better? Just because you're a university or you're whatever you are, there are differences to your business and what you do and how you want to be uniquely identified in the market, and the vendor's not going to know that. So it is. I agree. It is really important to choose well and have that time to choose well,
and have the right people on the panel. Like if it's from your marketing team, make sure you have someone that understands tech and MarTech really well.
Yeah,
and they can ask the right questions to understand what it can and can't do. What's
correct. And the other thing I would say to that too is, also just thought about it too, is that don't forget that it's your marketers and your officers and your comms and the people that are actually going to be using product, right? So they are also, when you put together your tender and when you put together your business requirements, don't forget them, because if they have a terrible experience, it's not going to shine
right.
on
they're not going to use it. Like if the UI is poor or the UX is poor and it's really hard and clunky to use, and even if they haven't been part of it or they feel they haven't been part of it, and they get the system plonked on them and they're quite happy with what they've got and they don't understand the rationale or why they've now been given this tool that they don't understand and it's too hard. People naturally resist change. So you got to think about that Kubler-Ross change curve as you're doing this and bring the right people on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a fair amount on procurement. I think we've given lots of tips on that. Now we're going to have to fly through part 2 and 3 and get some more nuggets from you, starting with Salesforce. Obviously has a lot of core modules and add-ons. In fact, I was looking at their add-ons and it was 31 pages long, PDF. So much in that. But where did you start? You mentioned a few things that you're looking to replace and what you already had. So talk us through the modules that you had, whether it's sales, service, marketing, cloud, and any other add-ons.
Yep. So as I mentioned at start, we started with Marketing Cloud. So we've been Marketing Cloud for, I'm going to say, at least 6 years now. It's sort of where we started our journey. And in the Marketing Cloud, we have purchased the Marketing Cloud Journey Builder component, sort of out-of-the-box Marketing Cloud. We also invested in the Social Studio. So we had another product at the time, and we decommissioned that and we moved across into Social Studio. And that Social Studio, that manages our social media channels. And then we also have Advertising Studio, and then Email Studio. So we sort of have enough of the digital marketing technology to do the majority lion's share of anything digital market requirements. Again, that's a Rolls-Royce version where we're still building out, and it comes back to the comment around embracing, getting your people to embrace the technology and use it. Again, even as a central marketing unit or your executive or whoever in the market, however your marketing is structured. In university world, it's structured central, and then there's faculty marketing. Think about who's going to be using it. So we've got a bit of a journey with the Marketing Cloud, but we are definitely using it majority post-grad space.
Yeah. So in those 4, is there anything else you can share? So is the Journey Builder like obviously building the journey of the student, which touch points and what comms they get when, and some of that automation?
Pretty much. So so it's putting our students down different journeys. So we start by the two big ones that we have is an inquiry journey. So they fill in a form that says, I'm interested in UTS, can you give me more, type thing, general inquiry, and that puts them on a journey on
sequence of emails or comms.
Correct. And then we also have the info night or info event type registration. So start there, and then there go into a journey. The biggest thing I could say about that is you've got to invest again into it. It's not a set and forget thing. So I suppose this technology is not set and forget. You must really embrace it, and it must become a part of your daily rituals. The very first thing you do is open your mail and you open up yourself to get the best benefits. So in terms of Journey Builder and Journey, that's we use the basics, so SMS and email at the moment.
Cool. And then your Social Studio, that's developing your posts and scheduling those across platforms.
Correct. Yeah.
And your Advertiser, is that kind of your AdWords or SEM or Facebook or Google, or what is that doing?
Yeah, so we don't really use a huge amount of that, but it's to schedule advertising across into the socials. I think we use it mostly. That's been a bit to be honest, that's been a bit quiet. It's quiet on that front at the moment. Really, we're investing more down the marketing journey component here.
Cool. Okay. And then the email is a platform to allow you to send out those comms, target the right lists, and
mass blast.
Okay. So then, which other ones? Sales and Service Cloud?
Yeah, so they were the first, and then we purchased sales and service. So sales is your CRM, sales. It keeps contacts and leads and the thing, and it connects with the marketing journey. And so, as I mentioned, we set about starting the Salesforce journey, replacing our prospective student CRM. We're now actually building it out into our current student experience. So the service component that we've purchased actually is our student inquiry sort of component. So we have another product on Salesforce, a module on Salesforce called Experience Cloud, and it's really the front experience layer. So people can actually log into it. We have secure login. They can then register their interest. And then we actually have all our postgraduate and some of our undergraduate courses now are actually driven out of our CRM and our Experience Cloud. So we have direct application in that. We also have all our student inquiries. So if a student has an issue, they need special consideration, general inquiries, that is all driven through the one portal now. So they go to the one place, and that information is all collected against their contact in the back end as well.
Yeah, does that replace the existing student services system? Because most unis have, some legacy student portal or student database. Does this replace that, or does it augment it?
No, we replaced it. So we had an old product that was for student inquiries, and these are actually, when I say student inquiries too, these are secure. Some of the inquiry is sensitive information.
Yeah.
So it's not when we talk about student inquiries, it's not general inquiry.
Yeah, maybe issues with their study or things, they're in distress or they need leave of absence or whatever it might be.
Correct. And so that's what we use that system for. And then you talk about COVID, and this is where Salesforce really came into its own with us as a relation between university and technology, is that when COVID came, it allowed us to pivot against some of these things as well. So, for example, we actually had a number of different grants that our students could apply for to sustain them while COVID was happening. And so what we were able to do, we were actually able to pivot within the software and a couple of its add-ons in the App Exchange market, really strong exchange market, really, really strong. We were able to build and meet the students' need around that space quite quickly. So we actually now have all our financial assistance programs running through, again, that portal from a front end, and then the service module handles it in the back end.
Yeah, fantastic. And so you've got student services, some of those are using it. Marketing's obviously using the front end marketing cloud, and other departments like that. I assume future students are using it, given you've got events and other things in there.
Yeah.
Are they the main audiences using it for now? And are there plans to roll it out to researchers or industry engagement or other parts?
Yeah. So definitely. So we have two main. You'll hear this in Salesforce language. They're called orgs, and they're really just instances. So we have two main orgs at the university. We have a student org, and everything related to the student will go into that, including the learner. So that's another really interesting area that universities are starting to delve into. So we'll have our traditional student goes and sits and does an undergrad, postgrad, PhD. And then we have our learner, and they're our executive courses, our short micro credentials, all that type of stuff. That all sits in the CRM. So that sits in the one org. And then we do have our partnerships, our enterprise partnerships, and that sits in a different org. But both are actually run by Salesforce. So we hold in our student org. We have also, I should mention, we also run all our PhD. So all our PhD applications, inquiries, and we're just about to launch out our scholarships through the portal. So we actually have our PhDs going through that. So they're our main markets at the moment. So our graduate research in terms of our PhD, our marketing department, our student inquiries and student administration department. In terms of Email Studio, though, in particular, it's pretty much the majority of the organisation uses Email Studio as their email blast tool of choice. But yeah, so they're our major ones. And we actually, so what we did is we actually created product lines. So when I took over, I was actually asked to come in and operationalize Salesforce. That's sort of how I fell into the role. And we introduced product management sort of frameworks, and we have product lines. So we have a product owner. One thing you'll find with your CRM, if you're anything like us, is that there's no one owner. And this is what we're grappling with now in terms of governance is, well, who is the owner? Who at the end of the day makes the decisions about what goes in and what doesn't go in? So we have a steering committee, and we have product lines. So we have about 9 different product lines. And so all those suspects are sort of heading up the product line. Interestingly enough, what we are doing, and again, this actually stemmed from some COVID stuff where we became really pivotal and really successful, is within our international student market. So UTS has about a quarter of its student population are international, and we had all our international people who couldn't come. So we had to take to the campus to them. And so we actually using Salesforce had an online learning program where they could register, and we could deal with them in terms of their getting on board to UTS. And then we have Canvas that sort of does the actual learning stuff. But we actually are now, and a part of the 2027 strategy, we take it back to strategy, is we are now sort of aligning our pathway company in search. It's called UTS College now. It's sort of coming more and more into UTS, and we're now looking at the data and the student data around that coming in the CRM. That's a big focus for this year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For us. Yeah.
And in terms of roles, you mentioned that product management kind of focus, but how did it change the roles and skills required both within your IT team, if there were any? Like, do you need devs to develop on this, and what kind of devs? And then in the marketing team, did they have to upskill in automation or journey building, or they gain new skills or new positions?
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
A result?
Yeah, look, this is absolutely crucial. Again, if you look at the cost to the organisation to put this product in play, it takes people to manage it, to feed it, build it, various different levels. You absolutely need, now, irrespective of where the team sits, I will advocate that your Salesforce team, your core technical team needs to sit majority in IT. And the reason I say that is because of all the governing. So it's not just the product you're buying. Again, it's all the governing around that. You've got cybersecurity policy, you've got data policies, you've got privacy policies. The
one you mentioned before, everyone uses as email. That takes some governance, because where are we crossing over, sending multiple things to different audiences? How often is someone getting a comms from us? How are we managing unsubscribes and opt-ins and all of that?
Exactly. And it really is that it's a cross-bred team. So, but you do have to think about the governing of it. So that's really, really, really important, because you do not want to be having any breaches in those systems with the data that you have. So it is a real, I talk about marketing in terms of technical, because marketing is a technical job. And it requires, your marketers today require technical skills to run their job. It is what it is in my world. It's unfortunate. You just need to have an IT role and sense and sensibility attached to what they do and how they make decisions. So in terms of your Salesforce, you need to invest in your team. You absolutely, if you have any size, if you have any plans to go enterprise, so large amounts of data going in and data and or your objects. So in old database speak, all your tables are actually called objects in Salesforce. So if your complexities of data, you absolutely need to have a Salesforce architect. Without doubt, very first up, Salesforce architect if you go to enterprise. The other roles that you absolutely fundamentally need are called Salesforce consult. They're called Salesforce functional consultants. That's you go to Seek or LinkedIn, that's their title. And they are a cross between, they're like an old sort of producer type role. So they sort of go and they BA and they sort of understand from the business point of view what you're trying to achieve, and then they turn it into sort of solution points along the way. They understand the data and how the Salesforce works. They configure. So in this new world of these SaaS platforms, they're your configure layer, and a lot of the work that you can do on these platforms are in that configure layer. And then if you want to start to customize anything and build out from out of the box, you want to build further, that's where your Salesforce developers will come into play. The other things I would absolutely say your Salesforce instance needs is testing. You need to invest in your tester to make sure that all the correct things are in place. Again, not just from does the widget work, but has the widget made impact? Like we talk about regression testing. And this is where you test a system to ensure that nothing's changed. So you've made a change over here, and as you deploy it to your environment, nothing else changes underneath that could actually unsecure your data. So testing is really important in that. I'd say they're the three main roles, but as you get bigger, you'll get more, the team will get bigger. At the moment, we have a team of about, it fluctuates a little bit because we are actually a blended projects and operations team. And we have about 20
right.
in our current team.
Yeah. Wow. And what have been one or two of the complexities you didn't expect, and what's been the greatest win or success from the implementation so far?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that really we didn't expect was the resourcing and Salesforce, and going through the last few years, and I don't see it changing, anytime soon, is really crucial, and it will really impact your ability to deliver if you don't have the right resourcing. And I find it's interesting. So back in the day when .com was all the craze, and this is before the .com crash, I would interview people that wanted to be a web designer, and you'd sort of look at their CV, and then when you'd actually say, "Oh, where are you? What have you done?" Da, 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 they were a plumber the day before. And now I find, like in Salesforce land, the biggest thing you look for is the credentials. So they're certified by Salesforce. That's the big thing, right? But then when you look at it, a lot of the things that are coming through now, yep, I've got my Salesforce certificate 101, blah, 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 blah. And you go, okay, well, what installs have you done? Da, da, da. Oh, no, I haven't actually done any of these. I've just
got the theory, yeah.
So the market is really tight, and your resourcing constraints are a definite there. So lesson learned, have a retention plan, number one, and really, really do investigate who you're bringing on board.
Yeah, great tip. And biggest win so far?
Biggest win so far? Look, I actually think the biggest win so far for me is the fact everybody wants to go onto Salesforce.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good place to be, better than the rejection of the system and people not wanting to adopt it. And it's been great. Excellent. Okay, we're now up for our Fast Five. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what do you believe are 3 essential capabilities or criteria of a high-performance marketing team?
Yeah, I would say co-work with your IT, and they are your friends. They aren't there to put any barriers in. Keep your eye on the end goal, right? Absolutely. Keep your eye on the end goal. Don't get distracted with all the I call it the disco ball tech. And absolutely don't forget why you're there, who you're doing it for, which is the customer.
Yeah, love that. And how would you describe your team's culture in one word?
Respect.
Mm-hmm. What's one metric you've used to successfully track and measure team performance?
We feel like we're a success when the deployment goes 100% smoothly, no bugs into production.
Yep, good. And what's one skill or capability you've learned recently you wish you'd learned?
Choose the battle. Choose your battle. I find myself saying this to everyone in my team at the moment, and I have to also keep on thinking, hey, do I
Is this
really
worth the fight? Yeah. Yeah. as a parent of 2 young kids, that is a daily decision. Which battle do I choose?
That's right.
And what book or books have you read you found yourself recommending to others, or you think our audience would gain value from?
This is my favorite question, actually. Right? And this is going to be completely out of the blue. So at this point in time, this podcast is being done in International Women's Week.
Yeah.
And I have picked up a book. I haven't read it yet, but I've listened to this author, there's podcasts and videos and YouTube, things like that. And I find her absolutely brilliant. So I've picked up the book. It's called Power. And I am going to butcher the surname, but it's called Power, and it's by Kima Nekapil. And I'll spell it out for everyone. The surname is Nekvapil. I recommend you go, women and men alike, go and follow her. She's absolutely inspirational. So that's the book I'm getting into.
Fantastic and very timely. We'll make sure we link that up in the show notes. Thanks for that fantastic recommendation. Well, Kelley, before we go, where can people go to get in touch with you or learn more about UTS?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. So my name is Kelley Johnson. That's how you'll find me. And I'm happy to share my UTS email as part of the show notes if anyone wants to reach out personally and find out anything more on the journey.
Well, thank you so much for being so generous in sharing your story so far around the Salesforce implementation. I think so much value in that around why you made that decision for Salesforce, procurement process you went through, the importance of bringing the right people on that journey and making that investment up front, getting the implementation partners on board at the same time, through to how you went about it in terms of implementing and some of those lessons again around the skills and roles you need on the team, pitfalls to avoid, and some of the wins that you've had. So yeah, thank you again for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You've been listening to Lean Mean Marketing Teams with Ty Hayes. If you love the show, please remember to hit subscribe so that you can discover more tips and strategies to build a high-performance marketing team. And if you're feeling generous, please tell someone about the show who you think would benefit. We're on a mission to help CMOs build their dream team and enable marketers to do their best work. And we appreciate your help in spreading the word.